have concrete batching crew or construction workers that they are working for you specifically for the concrete batching, this web application is for you. It's very simple. It does not have any backend database. It's just an HTML, and you can host it on your GitHub pages. So this is exactly for you. And what it does is making the whole process as smooth as possible for your concrete batching. So there's no math left to be done by the site crew. So for example, here, like what is your target batch size? So you have cubic feet, like 3 cubic feet, 1 cubic foot, and those are your multipliers. So based on that, it changes the whole weight of all the ingredients. Specifically, this batch is for engineered cementitious material, which is one of the very high strength concrete types. So there are a lot of research on this, and this was one of my projects, and I created this. It was really helpful, and it is designed for the mobile device. And you do this every single step as you go along with your batching. So this is 2 cubic feet, for example. Like if you change here and just pay attention to the bottom section, the batch ingredients, and you can see it that they change too, like based on those proportions that it's already hard coded inside. And the specific gravity of each one is also changeable. So you can change all the specific gravity for each ingredient based on different manufacturers, and you're good to go. So then totally the total dry mix and total wet mix, everything in pounds. These are the checklists basically. So you mark it up. Okay, I did that. And every single time that the crew or the batch manager, it does the check mark, there is a timestamp over there. The date and time, it's recorded. If there is like something ambiguous or something like anomaly in that step, so you can write it in here, you can actually dictate it with your phone. So you just like talk to your phone and it just writes it as a voice memo. And you can also add photos at each step. And you go along with this, and this is literally your application. So for these steps, there is a time allowance. Like for 2 minutes, you have to do this mix. So you start your time and the time countdown starts. So you can do that. And then next step, you can do the same thing with the wet mix. So this was specifically designed for that specific engineered cementitious material, ECC. But you can design the same exact thing for any type of concrete that you want. Like for example, for 7 KSI concrete, 8 KSI string concrete. So you can do the same thing for all of them. And it's much simpler. So you can do this as well. Here we go. This is the web application. If you really want to know how I built this, so follow along with this video, and I'll show it to you exactly step by step how to do it. All right, let's talk about the ECC trial batch checklist. So this is one of the checklists that usually you can ask Gemini or ask ChatGPT to give me the best ECC mix design. So they will give you some ECC mix design with all those ingredients inside. And there's some checklists, and there's a lot of time-related constraints, like all those limitations that while you're mixing. So you need to be very careful, taking care of the time, taking care of the weights, and the weights are very important too. So it's sometimes like in the lab environment is pretty good, but when you get to the field environment, it gets chaotic. So if you have an application like this, it's very helpful for both the quality assurance and quality control engineers on site. And the whole process and batching will go smoothly on site. So here is the engineered cementitious composite trial batch checklist, and it's a mobile first digital badging tool for engineered cementitious material. It is a single page web application, and no installation required, and it does work offline. So here, basically the challenge is like the paper form. So we are trying to change the paper form into a digital form, like smartphone. Nowadays, everybody has it in their pockets. So manual checklists are slow, error prone, and hard to read in field conditions, especially when you're dealing with the night shifts and a lot of dust and a lot of noise out there. So the information may not transfer correctly and accurately. And no auto calculation is on site. So during the field review, so you should minimize the calculations because there's a lot of error, risk of errors happening on site too. And you shouldn't allow technicians or let technicians to do the hand calculations during the batch. And you might have the risk of the material waste and schedule delays. And missing records, also sometimes those records from the QC engineers and the site engineers might get lost. So that's why it's very important. And then the report assembly is another one. So post-batch reports require manual data entry from handwriting notes. So that's like another risk introduced to this process. So basically, this web application can also be resolved with this digital app. And the app capabilities are basically it's an auto calculator. All those challenges that I just mentioned before, so you can resolve it with this application. It's very simple. 18-step procedure. So those procedures are depending on the mix design. So if you have more than 18 procedural steps, then you can add more, or you have less, you can deduct from the existing. So it's a guided checklist. So it depends again on your mix design. So whatever your concrete mix design is, then you create or you customize your checklist. Now, photo capture, during the mixing or batching, so you need to catch the photos. That's very important for documentation and reporting. Voice dictation, so that's the voice memo that you literally talk to your phone, and then the notes are getting created in those relevant fields. And weather is also very important. Sometimes when you're on site and there's windy, during the windy conditions, so the fly ash or silica fume, there are very small particles, very fine particles, so wind will affect them. So that weather gets auto-filled, all those fields based on geolocation. And PDF reporting is also possible with this application. So that's another capability of this app. All right, let's talk a little bit about the batch calculator and ingredients and basically how it works. Enter target batch size in cubic feet, and multiplier auto calculates. All 8 ingredients weights update instantly. So that's already hard-coded based on the mix design. And dry and wet splits auto compute in 90% and 10% into thirds. And editable specific gravity per material and editable weights. So yellow equals manual override. So later on I can show it to you how you can interact with this app. And basically this is the mix design, and 8 materials are basically tracked within this batch. So those are the cement, silica fume, ground quartz, silica sand, water, and superplasticizer, which is the high range water reducer, HRWR, and retarder. So whatever retarder that's commercially available, like a Delvo retarder, or there's a Chryso 150, Premia 150, so that's another one. So whatever that's available commercially, so you can use that. And this is a polyethylene fiber, so that's another ingredient that you can put in the concrete. So the ratios are based on the research, and also, as I mentioned before, that you can ask Gemini, you can ask ChatGPT. So there are a lot of research about this from University of Michigan. And so University of Michigan, a long time ago, they started this research on this, and there are a lot of research available on these ratios. So if you change the ratios, that also change the characteristics and properties of the resulted concrete. And this is the specific gravity of each material that I just mentioned here. So you can edit these specific gravity per manufacturer's data sheets. So once this application or web app, it has the capability of doing this. And all of this, keep in mind, all of this application, all this customization for this specific mix design is built per AI and Claude code. So moving on, a little bit about the guided 18-step procedure. So every step includes a built-in tool to eliminate friction and capture data. So basically, if you have gloves on, the things that it was considered based on the site conditions and during the batching procedures. And you have masks on, and when you're talking and it's a little bit muffled, and the note taker might not be able to understand it. So there are a lot of complications during the site, like an actual real life example. This is the helpful tool, and AI can help with this. So one tap check off. So as soon as you're done with that step, you just tap the phone, and that check marks it. And the timestamp is also already added in to that step. And built-in timers, like some steps, they have like 2-minute mix or 1-minute mix. So then you can use those timers built in the each step. And photo at each step, like sometimes like the color is different, and there are some lumps or there are some fiber balls. That's an industry term that they're using if there's accumulation of the PE fiber, polyethylene fibers in one spot. That's called fiber balling. So you can take pictures of those and add it to your report. And voice dictation and creating voice memos is also capable. This application is capable of. And finally, weather is also doable with this application, that you can autofill all the weather conditions based on the geolocation from your smartphone. And one tap PDF batch report. So the PDF includes all the data that I just mentioned. And also towards the end, there is a signature tab that you can sign it off, like, okay, that is a pass or that is a fail mix. All right, this is a comprehensive prompt and a concrete batching checklist web application. So you can, I can copy it here in the description as well. So you can see, we can go through it, like how to use the prompt. So copy everything below this line. So this is literally the prompt, and paste it to your Claude code and Claude chat. So this is a pretty comprehensive that throughout many iterations that I designed this prompt for you guys. So you can change all those different names and different acronyms to whatever composite or whatever concrete type that you wanted to do, because this is only one mix design. So you can have like your own mix design, like as I mentioned before during the demo. This is the ultra high performance concrete, the engineered cementitious composite, self-consolidating concrete or shotcrete, rapid string concrete, lightweight concrete, mass concrete, FRP concrete. Everything is different type of mix design, as you all know. So based on that, you can customize it for your own needs, and all in the brackets. So you can change everything in the brackets here. So basically, if you have like a contact email, if you can change that, or you name, title, organization, branch, so you can change all of those. So you can see here, mix design ratio by weight. Cement is basically, this is an example. This is an example. Early on in that one slide, I showed it to you. So what it was, like the actual mix design. So here the ingredients are also, the materials are different. So how are you gonna mix the design or the batch volume? So if you're dealing with bigger batches or larger batch sizes in the ready mix trucks, then you don't need cubic feet. So you need cubic yards and cubic meters if you're in Europe or other countries that are using the SI system. So here, like all these numbers and everything within the brackets, you can change them. So there you can group them by dry mix and wet mix, and then the fiber. So here for this specific one is the fiber. So it's either synthetic fiber or steel fiber or polyethylene fiber. So what are those? Air entrainer. So these are like different types of material, different ratios and specific gravities. So after you then you can group. So those are the variables inside the dry and wet and the fiber. So those are the split names, like what's a dry split or wet split. So either within the wet split, so you have the 90% and 10% specific for this mix design. Again, you can customize that. And also like batching procedure steps. So there are some hints for the lab, duration, step numbers, and action, and note placeholder. So every single one of them, like every line that you can see here, so it's basically telling Claude or telling that LLM that you're using what exactly you need. So you can read through these and customize every line for your own needs in your own concrete and send it out to, basically it's a form that I created for you guys, and you can fill this form out and send it out to Claude, and you will have your application, your HTML or web application. So these are batch records and manual entry. So those are the ones that some features, some the disclaimer text. Okay, the developer does not hold or guarantee this web application. You can use it at your own risk. So you have to have that as well. So then required app features, some disclaimer. Splash screen that the user should press agree, and some styling, some more features, and you can see all this is already laid out for you. And some optional customizations that you can add, like unit systems, if a different unit system, aggregate moisture corrections, and yield calculation, air content, and the rest of it. So I can copy this for you in the description. Right now we are copying the whole thing in here. So that's pasted. So the same thing that we talked about. It's like 3 or 5 lines, and this is like the MD format. And those are all the prompts that I just talked about it. So let's do this and run it. So this is the thinking process, or the thought process of the Claude. So I use the 4.6 adaptive version, adaptive model, but the 4.7, so it'll take a lot of tokens. So you can see here, this thing is okay, everything is done. So because we didn't fill in the brackets in here, so this is why it says, like, you know, what do you want to do? So I can say, like, okay, fill it in for new mix. So let's go with that, and it will create like an HTML that we requested from. So the very good thing is this survey type questions that usually Claude asks you. So here it says, like, what mix type is this for? Is it for UHPC, ECC, advanced cementitious? Is it for fiber reinforced concrete, self-consolidating? What type of? So let's consider UHPC. And then another question, it comes to, do you have the mix design ingredients and weights? So I say I have partial, starting from scratch, need a template mix. So I have the full mix design. So if you have it, then you can put it over there. So, like, who is this for? What organization? Like, for example, like Personal AI Force demo. So it already mentioned, like, you know, some of the agencies out there. So all the questions that you answered, then, oh, okay. So let's go. Some of the answers that they, it says, which material should the demo feature? So, actually it found it online from Ductile. Ductile is a UHPC manufacturer. So let's go with that. And lab trial, like field batch, let's do a field batch. Showcase the apps, feature for YouTube content, and those are really cool, like that, all the questions that they're asking. So let's say for YouTube content, and let's do what else it's thinking. This is really cool, like, you know, it already picked it up that the online ductile style is already producing UHPC, the ultra high performance concrete, and a lot of information on FHWA website, on these other agencies website for the UHPC specifications, and like all the UHPC properties and different mechanical and fresh properties are all out there, online public data. So it grabbed it, and it already found the information. So that's why it just gives you the suggestions. So even like all the properties here, like 90%, the high range water reducer. So that is very cool. Like it already found all the information online. And then here's writing the HTML checklist interface. So if you have the mix design for yourself, so this is like a demo version of it that Claude is just building it for you. But if you do have that, it will be able to make it up for you. Now it builds all the design, as we already mentioned, the ADA, American with Disability Act compliant HTML web app. So it's building it right now. It found all the information about the UHPC. Now it builds up all the HTML interface. Alright, now all the architecture is done. Now it's writing code for us. So these are all the HTML standalone code, and trying to build that interface. Alright, so here you go, and it created that HTML for us based on that prompt that we give the Claude that prompt. So that prompt, it included already this disclaimer. So this disclaimer is just like for your claims or for legal purposes or something, like, you know, it's just a template. You can customize it for yourself. So it says, okay, it's a demo for AI Force or whatever, and then you can use it for at your own risk. So once you agree and enter the checklist, so here we go. So you can change the batch size of the target volume, like what is in cubic yards, and then these numbers, they need to be shifted or changed as you can see here. So those are the base weight and pounds per cubic yard. So it just changed, like let's say 2 cubic yards of UHPC, the multiplier is going to be at 2. So they're different, like you need this cement type 1 or 2, silica fume, densified, and quartz sand 150 to 600 micrometers, and quartz powder, so water chilled preferred, and higher range water reducer PC super plasticizers, and steel fibers 13 millimeter long and hooked. So these are all the information that it grabbed it from online. So originally during the demo of this video, so there was a different form, right? But that was specifically for the design that I mentioned, and that was customized for that. So we gave him the design, and that was built for based on that. But here, this is the totally different, customized for the UHPC. And you can see here, like as soon as you put the check mark here, and if you're on the field, so this is dictate button, you can record your voice memos, and from voice memo, then it can just type it. Like for example, I would say allow. Here, hello. I guess it works on iPhone, so not. Oh, here you go. Like yeah, it grabs all from the information too, from the. Yep. There's a lag time, but it can grab all the voice memo for your site notes. All right, so let's try a little bit more. Let's say UHPC. Oops. UHPC is poured right now. We are on site at 7 a.m. in the morning. As you can see here, everything is good. So you stop that. That's very easy and handy tool. And also you can take photos, like you click on the photos. So this is a mobile friendly application. So that's really cool, like to make it much easier for us. So the second step, like pre-read the drum. So if you do that, like 30 seconds, it gives you 30 seconds. And if there are some complications, some challenges over there, then you can take pictures. Okay, that was the reason, it was not. And everything is in the timestamp. Here you can see the timestamp PDT. So once that's done, then you can go ahead for the next checklist. Okay, weigh all the ingredients, dry ingredients. It's like 7,308 pounds per 2 cubic yards. So we have 2 cubic yards, right? For 2 cubic yards, we need that much of dry mix, all dry ingredients. If there are some issues with the date, expiration date, and all that, then you can write it in the notes and take photos, and you can use the voice memo button. Okay, so the next step is 530 pounds. That's the weigh steel fibers separately, because steel fibers put either 2% or 3% per volume of the mix. So here, premix high range water reducer into water, like 670 pounds of it. You can take pictures from the process and all that. So all of them are doable using your iPhones. And the other thing is that you can see here on the top, it shows you the total duration of the mix at the top right. So yep, that's done too. And then you can, moving on to the next step here, like step 8, like let's say this is the 3,120 pounds of add cement over powder layer. In step 9, add silica fume over cement, 624 pounds. And then once you added that, dry mix all powders for 3 minutes, and you start the timer in here. So moving on, once the timer is done, so you can move on to the next steps. Pour 90% of the water plus HRWR solution, slow pour, 603 pounds. Start that, mix it for 1 minute. So that adding water to that, 90% of that, so it'll take a minute. So once you do that, then mix the liquefaction, mix to liquefaction, 8-minute minimum. So once the whole mix gets liquefied and homogeneous, so that's like around 8 minutes. So let the mixer run, and there are some instructions in here too, so you can read all those instructions. So it just gives you all the information needed, exactly as needed on site. And here, this is a conditional step, and you can see here there's like a dotted margin around it. So you can see, okay, this is a conditional. You might not need it, but you can add it based on 2 cubic yards, 67 pounds of the reserve 10% water plus a high range water reducer. Once you do that, then there's like steel fibers. Gradually, steel fibers is the last portion or the last step towards the end of the mix. You have to mix it up, because most of the time, so here there's a 2 minutes for a steel mix, because you need to you cannot dump it all over at one place, so that will cause fiber balling and stuff. So then you have to make it like, you know, uniformly dispersed all over the mix, so over 2 minutes. And then final mix after fibers, like 3 minutes. Do that, the mixing after fibers. Perform final quality checks, so if there are some issues, just note it. And then record the verdict and initiate cast. So you see here the technician or the manufacturer, it will say it's a good, no good, and those are all the manufacturer representatives comments. And here, no dry powder clumps, so you can't see that. And then they check mark all of them. You check for all this quality control and quality assurance purposes. So no fiber balling or clumping observed on the surface, and uniform gray color throughout, no streaks or unmixed zones. Here, flow spread within the 8 to 10 inches, and no excessive bleed water or segregation visible. Steel fiber visibly and uniformly distributed throughout, and batch temperature acceptance or acceptable is less than 85 degree Fahrenheit. So if you're mixing during the hot weather, then you have to mix some ice and chilled water. Mix auto normal and no unusual chemical or off gas smell. So once you do that, then the final verdict is pass or fail. If there are a lot of issues that it didn't pass all of them, then you can fail it. So you can put all the batch records, like the timestamp start time. It's already based on the Pacific daytime. And total duration, it's also based on the total duration here in the mix. Well, the total duration here is a little bit lower. It's like 1 hour 11 minutes. So then because I stopped the video, so that's why it already counts it. So reserve solution, so there is some technician name. These are some fields related to the batch record, and also the cast location, some additional notes. So here there's an autofill from GPS, so it grabs your mobile phone GPS. So I'll say like, hey, I'll allow this, and once you allow it, autofill. So location permission denied, probably I did. All right, so let's try it again. So once we allow it, and say allow while visiting this site, okay. All right, here we go. So based on the geolocation, so all these weather related fields are getting populated. Like let's say temperature is 72 degree Fahrenheit, feels like, and humidity, dew point, wind speed. Wind speed is very important. Wind speed and temperature for concrete, especially the fiber reinforced concrete, they are very important. Because if it's too hot, then you need ice or chilled water, as I mentioned before. If it's too windy, you need some protection or some plexiglass or something to protect the silica fume add, or the powder mix, dry powder mix, to add it to the mixer, so the wind might blow it. So those are very important. Like if you have a windy day, so you might want to reconsider the schedule. So the wind direction is also important. The sky is clear, so what is the precipitation chance? And all the GPS location coordinates are here too. And once everything is done, the concrete temperature, final temperature with your temperature gun, you can check that. Or if not, that's the surface. But if not, there is an embedded smart rock or these concrete temperature sensors that you can see. It's a wireless probe that you inserted inside the UHPC type concretes or materials. Then it will read all the temperature, internal temperature. And the aggregate temperature, shades, and the water temperature. So once everything is done, if you need a new form, you can reset everything. If not, then you can print everything out. So once you do that, it generates a PDF version of the whole thing for you. So these are all those with the timestamps, with everything that you did. So all of them, it gets populated. And this is your field report. That's your batch report. And that's pretty much it.